All good. Reza?
Thanks. Morning, Eddie.
Morning, Reza.
Before I ask you about Blackburn, there hasn't been much time between the matches, but in the analysis that you've done of the Arsenal game, what new, fresh conclusions have you reached about why it went the way it did?
I wouldn't say they're fresh conclusions. I think my initial analysis was very similar to how I feel now. So we need to do better in lots of different areas of the game, and normally we do. This was a difficult day for us.
Has it been a while since you've felt like that about a performance? Because the run that you've been on, despite obviously frustrations maybe defensively, you've been picking up results and it had been better.
Yeah, I think it stands alone for me really this season, that performance, but because I think with the other performances we've had, there's usually been a reason for it, or we could work out where the performance had come from. This was one that I thought pre-game, I thought we'd deliver a really good performance. I think we trained well in the week. Thought our plan was right, and for whatever reason, every aspect of our game was off.
Are you pleased to be playing again so soon afterwards, having another game?
Definitely. I think you, after a performance like that, and you do get them. We had a couple last year. You want a chance to respond very quickly and to get it out of the system, and this is a good game to do that with.
On Saturday, you got both Alexander Isak and Joe Willock back on the pitch. Isak started, Willock came on and scored. Did they both come through the match okay after their respective spells on the sidelines? Yeah,
to this point they have. Delighted with Joe's return. I thought he looked really good when he came on. Scored a very typical Joe Willock goal, which was great to see. And Alex got 60 good minutes into his legs, and that'll do him the world of good.
Would it be too early, do you feel, for Willock to start, given the length of time he's been out and the fact that for almost 12 months now he's had some kind of injury trouble?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think it's probably something I'll have to discuss at length with the medical team. I think he's very, very close to starting. He's done a lot of work, although we've only seen the 30 minutes he played against Arsenal. He's done a lot of work behind the scenes to get himself in this position, so that'll be a judgment call really.
I want to ask you about Sven Botman, because he was withdrawn quite late in the game at Arsenal. I noticed he had his wrist or his hand strapped up. Is there an injury or a fitness concern with Botman?
Not with his wrist, no. I don't think his wrist is a problem. Sven had a very serious knee injury, and he's come back to fitness, and I think he's improved with each game. But I think he's still working his way back to his very best levels, and with his knee injury it's something that we're monitoring, and we hope that he continues to not feel his knee, and his knee's able to adapt to Premier League football. But certainly, as I said, it was a very significant injury.
So is there any concern then that he perhaps hasn't fully overcome the worst of that knee issue?
No, I think to play Premier League football you have to be in peak physical condition. You can't get away with playing the game if you're not. So no, he's fit to play. He's done the work, but as I said, it was a significant injury. So I think hopefully within a few more weeks he'll be back to his very best levels.
FA Cup then, at the point you're at in the season and the stage you're at in the competition, how important and how exciting is it for you?
Yeah, no, it's a huge game for us. We're absolutely committed to the FA Cup to do well. We have been all season. We've had two very difficult games, both away from home, to get to this stage. Now another difficult game away from home midweek as well. So no, we've been looking forward to this game for a while, so we know how important it is.
And finally, what do you make of Blackburn? Because since the draw was made, there's been a change of manager. Last season they were in playoff contention. It's been a bit harder for them this year in the Championship, but obviously you've analysed them and seen their strengths and their weaknesses. Yeah,
I think they've obviously made a change of manager. John's a very experienced guy, done a great job at Birmingham. I'm sure he'll do a very similar job at Blackburn. I think it goes to show how competitive the Championship is. As you say, last year they were right up there competing. This year, after a really sort of bright spell, they've maybe not where they want to be in the league, but I think they're a very competitive team. They've got goal scorers in their side. They're playing a new system under the new manager, so I think lots of challenges for us to rise to and overcome, and hopefully get through to the next round.
shows it.
Please.
Eddie, with Sven, is he feeling the knee at all? Is he feeling any tiredness?
No, I don't think he's feeling the knee. I think he's fine. As I say, to play Premier League football, you can't play if you're not. I wouldn't say 100%. I don't think any player goes into the game 100%, but feeling good. I think he has been feeling good, and as I say, maybe it's just a little bit more time needed to get back to his very, very best levels.
Do you think that's frustrating for him a little bit? That it's taken a little while.
Yeah, for me, there should be no focus on Sven. The focus needs to be on the team to perform better than it did. There was no one individual that let us down. I'd say we all, and myself included, weren't at our best against Arsenal. And when you're not at your best against the very best sides in the division, you get punished, and that's what happened.
And you touched on it a moment ago, but great to see Willett come back and score in the way he did that earlier in the season as well when he came back from the first injury. He seems to hit back very quickly, doesn't he? He seems to get back up to speed quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the first time he came back and scored against Manchester United, we felt then that was the moment that he was going to have a huge say in our season. Then unfortunately we lost him again. So yeah, I don't want to speak too soon, but he made a really good return, a goal scoring return, and yeah, hopefully that's the start of a good run for him.
How do you go about today, and I suppose yesterday as well, getting Saturday out of the system with this game so hot on the heels?
Yeah, I think Saturday will be out of our system by the time the game kicks off for sure. I think football, the cycle of games means that you have to get used to the rhythm of, even if we played brilliantly against Arsenal and won the game, you have to park it, put it to bed and focus on the next one. The next challenge is always the most important. So we've been working on that. And well, of course we'll work on that again today. Football's a very emotional game for all of us. We feel the emotion of positive and negative. And in both phases you have to use it as a motivation for the future.
And just further from me, you had that great experience, of course, of getting to Wembley, the cup final last year in that run. You want more of that, won't you? And it kind of keeps the season going in that term until the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we're here for. The cup competitions are so important. We want to go as far as we can, like we did, as you say, in the Carabao Cup final. Watching the game yesterday brought back a lot of memories, positive memories mostly, of last year, and yeah, whet the appetite really for this game, and hopefully more to come in the FA Cup.
Dawn?
Eddie, I was watching my niece play for Newcastle women yesterday, and you're talking about emotional. I felt quite emotional at the end, knowing that they'd qualified for the final. How much of a good result is that for them? But also, can your side take some inspiration from that?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to hear about the result, and especially again the support. Newcastle never ceases to amaze me with the support that every team gets. Of course, we're looking for inspiration from anywhere, and I think we've got enough inspiration from around us, especially after our last game, to use everything that we have, every tool that we have, to try and get through to the next round.
It's nearly 70 years since Newcastle last won the FA Cup. My father was a young teenager in the squad at that point, so didn't play, but the FA Cup's gone through ups and downs of how important it is, less it's been more. It seems to be back on the up now, in the way both the fans and the teams approach it. Would you say that it is now one of the most important competitions?
For me, it's always been one of the most important competitions, and that's because I was, and I've said this before, every time the FA Cup comes around, I was brought up with the FA Cup being the most important competition in the 80s. It was the be all and end all. It was your season really was based around the FA Cup, and that's not lost on me, and I've always tried to carry that forward into managing my teams. Now I've had a mixed record, some good, some bad, but I always take it seriously. I always want to try and progress in it, and this is an opportunity to get through to the latter stages of a major cup competition. We have to take it seriously, we have to try and embrace it.
Apart from Joe Willock, were there any other positives that you could take from the weekend?
I think Alex's return is a huge thing for us. To have a recognised striker within our squad, available for selection, especially one as talented as him, is a huge thing for us. Apart from that, no, I don't think there were too many, to be honest. And usually I'm always looking at the bright side of life and trying to find a positive even in difficult moments. But on Saturday night that was a tough one because we didn't perform to the level that we can.
And what about Martin Dubravka, because he was not well at the weekend? How's he?
We hope that he's improved. Yeah, we hope that he's available for selection, but at this minute in time we don't know.
Damien?
Eddie, with no disrespect to anyone else, have the last few weeks illustrated how important Joe Linton is to your team and the way you play?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've missed Joe's qualities. I think especially physically, his robustness, his abilities in duels, set plays, for and against. I think we're very lucky to have a midfielder that's as big as he is and as competitive as he is. And I think whenever you lose those qualities, I think you notice when they're not there. So he's a very unusual midfielder, really a prototype. You don't get many like him, and I think certainly we've missed what he can bring.
In that case, is it a priority to try and get his situation sorted out?
That's always been in my mind as an absolute priority, to try and get him to stay at the club long term. I see that as hugely important.
Luke, Chris and Lee?
This season, how important is it? You still can qualify for Europe in the league this season. You still, as you say, got a chance going to the latter stage of the FA Cup. There just seems to be a bit of atmosphere that people are starting to feel a bit sorry for themselves this season. How do you respond to that?
Can I ask who is feeling sorry for themselves?
The fan base as a whole, media, etc., pundits saying, not wanting to write off the season, but writing it off as sort of a disappointment compared to last year. But I presume you would rally against that and say you've got plenty to play for.
Yeah, definitely. We're still in the throes of deciding where the season will end up. When nothing's decided either for or against us. I definitely want to quash that feeling, because that's only negative connotations attached to it. For us, we need the players excited, ambitious, thinking brightly about the future, not negatively. I've always got a positive outlook. I think things in football, I've been in it long enough to know it changes very, very quickly, both for and against. So that's why you have to commit to everything you're doing. You have to be the best that you can every day. And then hopefully, if you do, good things around the corner. So this season could still be very special for us, but we have to make it happen.
And how do you feel? How do you assess the season to this point? Has it been a frustrating one? Has it been a disjointed one? Is there an adjective you can use to describe it?
Probably all of those things currently, if you analysed it and it stopped now, very challenging. When you start the season, you think it could be one thing, and you think of all the scenarios, there's probably so many scenarios that I wouldn't have thought could have happened that have led us to this point. But I think we'd be better for it, without a shadow of a doubt. The squad will be better for it, we'll be better for it. And the thought that we could have another season like last year where everything seemed to go for us again, very, very rarely happens in football. So it's just how you navigate this situation to come back better.
And just not got a follow from Damien's Joe Linton contract. Who will handle those contract talks now that Ashworth has left?
I think it'll be a mixture of Darren, Eels, and probably Amanda Ahmed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, the team has conceded a lot of goals recently. I know you've been asked about it, but in terms of changes to try and prevent that, are you any closer to thinking that you're going to come upon a solution for that?
Yeah, of course, we're looking for solutions to everything. So the outcome is the goals, of course, but there's a whole body of work that goes into how you defend, whether that's your how you press, how you defend in the mid third of the pitch, how you defend towards the goal. Certainly, we need to do a better job. I think regardless of how you tactically set up, it's individuals doing their jobs and making sure you don't make individual errors. I think we've been guilty of a combination of a lot of those things in the last few weeks. We've proved we can defend. We've proved we can defend even recently in some really good performances. So certainly we're capable. We just need to deliver it consistently.
And would you consider changing the system? And if so, how difficult is that to do with, I suppose, the amount of games you've got at the minute?
You can always change system. I think it's. Then you're saying it's system related. I have a different view. I don't think our system's necessarily the issue. It's how we perform within the system, and that could be any system that you pick.
Lee?
Eddie, a lot of talk yesterday about Liverpool's youngsters getting a chance, but how big has it been for Lewis Miley this season. It's been a real good advert for the academy here.
Yeah, he's been a brilliant advert for the academy. He's been a credit to himself and his family with how he's embraced the challenge. I think it's very, very unusual that you see someone so young come in and play regularly at this level, and as consistently as he has. That's the true testament to his performances. I think he's been outstanding, and I think the way he's attacked it and the way he's trained, the way he's handled himself, first class.
On the game at Blackburn, 7,000 Newcastle fans going down. There's been some famous cup nights down the years. How important are they going to be? They've got to make it like a home game and really try and turn the page from Saturday.
Yeah, I think we can't underestimate our opposition. We certainly don't ever. We'll give it our thorough analysis and dedication to make sure we prepare the right way. And I know our supporters will be the same. There'll be no other thought, I'm sure, than supporting the team like they did against Fulham in the last round, where they were absolutely magnificent. Made a huge difference to us. As soon as we came out for the warm-up, you could feel the energy the crowd gave us that day, and it was an important win.
And just finally, Joe Willock getting that goal, just to sign off psychologically on a positive note, giving the fans something at least to cheer. Is that something you can take into this next game now?
Well, I think when you have a difficult day as we did, the key thing is that you don't stop throughout the game. You keep your levels of professionalism as high as you can, and I think we scored a really good goal at the end. Harvey, Dan and Joe combining to score. They did leave with a slightly better feeling than if we hadn't have produced that moment, and yeah, you have to cling to positives in difficult days.
Dominic, Craig and then Jordan.
Jamal Lascelles has been very dependable for you when called upon this season, but it's obviously been 2 months since he last started the game. Just how is he fitness-wise, and how close is he to getting back into the starting 11?
Yeah, Jamal had a problem with his calf. He missed 2 to 3 weeks, I think it was. I'd say he's feeling back to somewhere near full fitness now. Even as much as a week ago, I think he was still nursing his way back. So he's been a big positive to have in the training ground last week. He's always an inspiring influence on the training ground.
And Matt Target and Elliot Anderson, just how close are they to returning to the training?
Yeah, they're getting there. Long road for both of them. Very, very different injuries. I think Matt's was quite clear-cut, quite a bad tear in his hamstring and operation, and then his recovery's been pretty straight line, I think. Elliot's very, very difficult injury because he felt okay, but Scan was saying a stress fracture in his back. He had to give it a lot of rest where he couldn't be too active, which is hugely frustrating for an athlete. But he's worked really hard and he's felt good in the last few weeks, and both are right on the tip of returning.
Craig?
Morning, Eddie. You've offered mitigation against certain performances this season, and understandably so with regards to your players. Was Saturday slightly different in that regard, that protection you afford them? You know, forgive the journalistic phrase, but you've got to remind them, you know, they are playing for the future here.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that sentiment, really. I think, as I said earlier, I think there has been performances where we've not been at our best, but you sort of understand we were disjointed, we had players playing out of position, we didn't have any substitutes, we were relying on 11 players continually, and at this game it was different. It was a different feel. It was just we didn't perform. There's no excuses to that, and we have to take full responsibility.
And in terms of the identity, you know, last year you won a lot of plaudits, and I know you denied some of it in terms of that nastiness and comparisons with Simeone after Real Madrid and everything. Has that gone this season? What that sort of that streetwise element to a lot of what you did last year?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think to a degree that is epitomised really by the makeup of your team. The individuals always create the characteristics, and I think we've lost a little bit of our experience in that sense, and the game management's not been as good. Yeah, that's something for us to look at.
Thank you. Jordan?
Just going back to Saturday, obviously Lawrence Curry started. What did he make of his performance, and has he been enough to keep his place at Blackburn?
Yeah, I think in a very difficult performance for the team, I think Loz did okay. Made a couple of good saves, controlled his box pretty well. I think he'd be pleased considering he hasn't played for a year. I think it was a good return.
And is there an update on Nick Pope? When can you expect to have him back?
No immediate update. No, he's not on the verge of returning. He's working his way back. He's still very much gym based, although I think he has done a couple of hand sessions outside, but very, very gentle at this stage. So I still think he's a number of weeks away.
Okay. Scott and then Kieran.
I was just the FA Cup obviously offers a route to European qualification, and I think now we all probably accept it's something very difficult to make top 4 via the league, but there's still a route potentially to Europe in the league. Where would you value qualifying for Europe in either the Europa League or the Conference League? How important is that to the club and where it's trying to get to and the development and everything? Where does that come in your kind of headspace, those competitions?
Well, right at the top. Of course, qualifying for the Champions League was unbelievable last year. But if you can't make that again, then we have to look for the best next alternative, and that's what we're trying to do. So for me, they're realistic objectives. We'll give everything we can to achieve it. I think for the football club to try and qualify regularly for Europe is an achievement in itself, and that's something we're looking to do.
Okay, Kieran.
How do you find that kind of nasty edge again? You went to Arsenal last season, obviously made it very difficult for them. It's a bit different for the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think you can force that onto players. I think they either have that or they don't. As I said to Craig earlier, the characteristics of the players create the team, really. And of course, there's things you can say and do to your players, but really you can't change their characters. So our midfield is different. Our front line was different. Our back line was different, and those players that come in then create the personality of the team.
Does it trouble you when teams are finding it easier to play against you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we don't want to be easy to play against. We want to be very difficult to play against. We didn't execute what we wanted to do against Arsenal well enough. That's clear. That's clear from the performance. And as I say, I take responsibility for that.
Martin.
Sorry, so it's similar theme, Eddie. Just why is a team that was so good defensively now giving up chances as well as goals?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a lot in the last few weeks. I think I've given the same answer. We need to improve. Yes, the team is different, but we have to find solutions with the different players that we have playing now to still be effective defensively and effective the other way with the ball. And at the moment, the balance isn't quite right.
And did it worry you what you saw on Saturday, or frustrate you, or anger you, or what was your emotion?
Yeah, probably all of those things mixed into one. I think I don't tend to worry so much. I always need to find solutions to problems. So worry isn't necessarily emotion, but certainly lots of other negative emotions that you feel because that wasn't the best representation of us.
And sorry, what reaction did you get from the players at half time and afterwards? I think he's alluded to the fact that there were some honest words said at half time. What was the reaction afterwards as well?
The players were hurting because they're really good characters, people. They want to do well, they want to please, they want to represent the club in the right way. And I've always sensed that running through them. So yeah, they'll be wounded, I think, at the moment, and that's why it's really good that we've got another game coming round very quickly.